morning, everybody. Today's lesson is Hello, Second Secondary, Unit 6, entitled Learning from Our Mistakes. Let's read the text and analyze it together. The text in hand entitled A Christmas Carol. What's the meaning of carol? Carol is a Christmas song, usually sung during Christmas time. Let's read together and see or have a look at the new vocabulary. It was the end of December and it was dark outside and the streets were foggy. Scrooge was a very rich businessman, but he was mean. What's the meaning of mean? Mean is a person who doesn't like to spend money. Another word for mean is miser. He was mean and people didn't like him. Scrooge was working in his office with his assistant, Bob Cratchit. He was very cold because Scrooge wouldn't pay for a big fire to keep them warm. There was only a small fire and it was very far away. It's late. Can I go home, Mr. Scrooge? Bob begged. What's the meaning of beg? To beg for something means to ask somebody to do something for you. And the noun from beg is for a person is beggar. The beggar is a person in the street who asks people to give him money. So beg is to ask for something in a way that shows you need it very much. So he begged him to go home. Have you finished your work? Asked Scrooge. Bob looked at the enormous pile of work left to do and sighed. What is the meaning of pile? The word pile is a group of things put on top of each other. So he looked at the enormous pile of work left to do and sighed. What's the meaning of sigh? A deep breath out that shows you are tired, sad, or disappointed. You can't go home if you don't finish your work, continued Scrooge. If I finish all the work tonight, will you let me come to work a bit later tomorrow morning? Asked Bob. No, said Scrooge. Suddenly the door opened and Scrooge's nephew, Fred, came into the office. He gave his uncle a friendly smile. Bah, said Scrooge. Why are you here? And why are you so happy? You are poor. What have you got to be happy about? If you are so rich, why are you so sad? Replied Fred. Perhaps if you were poor like me, you would be happy like me too. Have you come to ask me for money? Asked Scrooge in an unfriendly tone. No, replied his nephew. I have come to invite you to dinner, said his uncle. Now let's return to some vocabulary mentioned in the text. The word beg again means to ask for something in a way that shows you need it very much. The word mean, not happy to spend money or give anything to other people. Another word or another meaning for the word mean is miser. Pile, a group of things put on top of each other. Sigh, a deep breath out that shows you are tired, sad, or disappointed. Okay, so number one, sigh, a deep breath. Number two, not happy to spend money, mean. Number three, to ask for something in a way that shows you need very much, to beg. Number four, a group of things put on top of each other, pile. Complete sentence with the word mean or fire. Does that photo mean a lot to you? Number two, the race starts when you, the gun. When you what? Mean or fire? Fire the gun, yes. Number 3, I'm sure Taha didn't to upset you. We'll say didn't fire to upset you or didn't mean to upset you. Didn't mean. Excellent. Number 4, he doesn't work, so his boss will mean him or fire him. He will fire him. Yes. To send him out of the work or to dismiss him out of the work. I don't understand. What do you fire or what do you mean? What do you mean? Asking about the meaning of something. Okay. Now shifting to the grammatical rule of Unit 6, which is about conditionals, the zero and first, second, and also the third case of conditional. Okay. I'm going to give you some examples to revise if conditionals 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, let's shift to another page and write some examples. Considering the structure of zero conditional, if is followed by present simple and present simple. And concerning the usage of zero conditional, use it mainly in the case of general habits or facts. For example, when I say, if I feel tired, I sleep. Notice now that if I feel tired, I sleep, the meaning of the sentence is refers to a general habit. I can replace the word if with when. When I feel tired, I sleep. And notice also that the structure here is a present simple and present simple. So it is zero conditional. I use it also in the case of facts. For example, when I say, if we heat water, it turns into water vapor. So I'm talking about a law of nature or a fact now. If we heat, I use present simple, water, it turns into water vapor. Okay, this is the zero conditional. Let's shift to another case. If conditional, case 1. Talking about something possible to happen in the future, and the structure of if conditional 1, if is followed by present simple, and I can use will plus infinitive or may, and also sometimes I can use can or should, and also imperative. In the case of the modal verbs will, may, can, should, followed by infinitive. For example, when I say, if you work harder, you will achieve your goals in life. Here I use present simple and will. Also, I can use may or can. Also, I can use should. If you want to pass the exam, you should exert much effort. I can use also the imperative form. If you want to pass the exam, work harder. Okay, this is if conditional case 1. Let's shift to case 2. The structure is if followed by past simple would plus infinitive. And it refers to our real situation at the present time. For example, when I say the real state is I don't have enough money. So if I imagine the opposite situation, I would say if I had enough money, I would buy that expensive car. I can use if in imaginary situations. For example, when I say, if I were a king, I imagine myself a king right now. If I were a king, I would make people happy. It's used also for advice. And notice now I replaced was to be were because I am talking about imaginary situation. So it's acceptable to replace was by the word were with I or any singular subject in case 2 because it is imaginary situation. Okay? Yes. Yes. And also might. So we can use, sometimes we use would, and other times we can use could and might. It is used also for advice. For example, when I say, if I were you, I would study hard. And I want to say or advise my friend to study hard. You should study hard, but I use if in case 2. If I were you, I would study hard. Okay? This is case 2. Shifting to case 3 or the third conditional. In case 3, I talk about impossible situation in the past. So the form of if case 3 is followed by had past perfect plus past participle and would or could or might plus plus past participle. For example, when I say I didn't pass the exam because I didn't study hard. So I imagine the opposite of that situation in the past, and it is an impossible situation, of course, because the real situation is that I didn't pass the exam, but I would imagine the opposite situation. So I would say, if I had studied hard, I would have passed the exam. Another example, if I had or had in the third conditional, if I had enough money, I would have bought that car. So here I use three parts, would have plus past participle. If I count and found them three parts, so it would be case 3, the third conditional. So that is the third conditional. Okay. The last part of or grammatical part in hand, the revision on the wishes. I use the structure of wishes, I wish, or if only. And they are followed by past all the time. If the sentence is in the present simple, I change it to past simple. And if I find the sentence in the past, I shift it to past perfect. If I find the verb can, change it to be could. And if I'm talking about another person, I use would. Let's take some exercise or examples. For example, when I say, I don't have enough money. So I don't have present simple. So I imagine the opposite of that situation. I wish I have or had enough money. Okay? Right. When I say I can't speak French. So I use if only here I find can't. So I change it to be could. I could speak French. I didn't study for the exam. Didn't past simple. So I change the past to be past perfect. I wish I had studied for the exam. If somebody or something else is doing the action, like it's raining, heavily, and you want to go out, I wish it stops, or it stopped, or it would stop raining. Huh? What will you say? It would stop raining. Okay, that's all for the grammatical rule in hand. Let's shift to the exercise. Here are some exercises or sentences based on if conditionals. Yes. Yes. I return itself. Yes, I return again. Okay. If eggs have what? They solidify. I'm talking now about if conditional, one or zero conditional, or what? I'm talking about a fact. Yes. If eggs but heat are heated, heats are heated. Excellent. So number one, are heated. Number two, if water freezes, again zero conditional, it into ice. Change, will it change? Would it change? Changes. The answer will be changes. It's a fact again and zero conditional. Number three, if it doesn't rain tomorrow, I to the library. I go, I will go, I have gone, I would go. The answer will be what? Will go. Excellent. It's a case one, if conditional one. If I were rich, if I were past simple, if I were rich, I yacht, can buy, would buy, had bought, will buy. I would buy. If we had started earlier, had started. Notice that the tense now is past perfect. Had started earlier, we the deadline. We had met, have been met, would have met, would meet. So the answer would be had plus VB, yes, would have met. If ice is heated into water, if ice is heated into water, the answer would be it turns. It's zero conditional. Case one is zero conditional. Sorry, it turns. If metals they expand, if metals they expand, present simple, zero conditional again. If metals heat or are heated, yes. If water boils, it again zero conditional, evaporates. Excellent. If you don't stop listening to that loud music, your headache worse. Got or will get? Gets, would get, yes, will get. 17. If the train down, I wouldn't have been late. I wouldn't have been late. Wouldn't have been late. Wouldn't have past participle. So it's case three, the third condition. So I need past or past perfect. Hadn't broken. Hadn't broken down would be the answer. Okay. If I read the newspaper, I wouldn't know what was happening. If I didn't, if I hadn't, if I don't, if I haven't. So would plus infinitive. The first or the second case? Second case, yes. If I didn't. If I didn't. Very happy if you achieved your goals. If you achieved, here if in the middle, followed by past simple. So I need the rest part, the second part of if conditional two. You would be, notice that it is a question. So I need to start with the auxiliary verb. Would you have been or would you be? Would you be? Would plus infinitive because it is case two. The sea will be polluted. We stop dumping oil and rubbish into it. As long as, if, so that, or unless. Here, the sea will be polluted. Notice that unless here will be the answer, and it means if not. So we can replace if with the unless, and it means if not, so it gives a negative meaning. The sea will be polluted unless we stop dumping oil and rubbish into it. What if he had left the meeting? What if he had left? Had left, past perfect. So it is if conditional three. We need would have plus past participle. What would happen or what would have happened? Yes. Would have happened. لا والله. Okay, again, second part of the text entitled Christmas Carol After a Dream. The next morning, Scrooge woke up in his bed. He had had a terrible dream, but now he could see his mistakes. If he hadn't felt so alone, he wouldn't have cared only about money. And if he hadn't cared about money so much, he would have treated other people better. Then he would have had more friends, and he wouldn't have felt so alone. But now, he would change. He ran to his window and saw a boy in the street. You boy, he shouted out of the window. Do you know the butcher's shop? Yes, Mr. Scrooge, shouted the boy. He was surprised to see Mr. Scrooge smile. I want you to buy the best food and take it to Bob Cratchit's house as a gift from me to his family. Will you do this for me if I pay you? Of course, said the boy. Then he ran off before Mr. Scrooge changed his mind. Scrooge went out. To change his mind means to change his decision or to take another decision. What's meant by the title? What's the meaning of carol? I have mentioned the meaning at the beginning of the lesson. The word carol is a Christmas song. The Christmas song or a song that's sung during the Christmas time. So, shouted the boy. He was surprised to see Mr. Scrooge smile and ran before he changed his mind. Of course, the boy then ran before Mr. Scrooge changed his mind. Scrooge went out in the street and said good morning to all people he met, and he smiled at them. Everyone was surprised to see Mr. Scrooge smiling. But they replied, good morning, Mr. Scrooge, and they made Scrooge very happy. Then he went to his nephew's house and asked if he could have dinner with him. Of course, his nephew smiled and invited him to come inside. Here again, giving you some examples related to if conditional 3 or third conditional. If plus past perfect followed by would have plus past participle. If he hadn't cared about money so much, he would have treated other people better. She would have bought a present if she had remembered your birthday. Would they have gone to Paris if they hadn't seen it on TV? Let's do this exercise. If she hadn't sung so well, she wouldn't have become famous. Number two, if we a ship last year, we travel all over the world. If we would use past perfect and then would have plus past participle. If we had bought a ship last year, we would have traveled all over the world. Number three, they watch the film if their TV work. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Sam, thank you. They would have watched the film if their TV had worked. Number four, if I, yes, hadn't read the book, I wouldn't have understood the story. If I hadn't gone to bed early last night, I wouldn't have been so tired this morning. Would you have come to the museum last week? And if I had asked you, now asking you to use sentences or to make sentences using if conditional 3. If Scrooge had lighted bigger fire, Bob wouldn't have felt or wouldn't have been so cold. Number 3, try to think with me, Ms. Noor. Number 3, if Bob had more money, he wouldn't have worked for Scrooge, of course, because he was a mean person. Number 4, if Scrooge had paid Bob more money, yes, Bob wouldn't have been so poor. Number 5, if Scrooge had been nicer to his nephew, he would have been happier. And the last one, number 6, if Scrooge hadn't had a bad dream, he wouldn't have changed. Shifting to the matching exercise. Okay. Bring back, make you remember. Yes. Fall out. Yes. To stop being friendly. Stop being friendly. Get into, to start enjoying something. Start enjoying something. Get on with. To get on with means to be friendly with. Hang out with, to spend time with somebody. Keep in touch with, continue to communicate with somebody. Lose touch, to stop communicating. Okay? I think it's the end of our lesson for today. Thank you very much. I hope you have enjoyed our lesson. Thank you.